Take a good look at this man. In a polo, he looks just like your average high school basketball coach, but appearances can be deceiving. This man was one of the most powerful and richest people on the planet back in the 1990s and early 2000s.
In his prime, he was known as the telecom cowboy, big, bold, brash, and loud.
He defrauded thousands of investors and some of the biggest banks and companies in Wall Street for billions of dollars.
Thanks to your hard work and dedicated focus, we've launched the world's first global communications powerhouse.
But it turned out it was all built on a lie.
He presided over one of the biggest corporate frauds of all time.
This is Bernard Evers, the former CEO of a company that no longer exists, a company that was at the center of the biggest accounting scandal in the history of corporate America. This is the story of WorldCom. Hello everyone, my name is Antonio. I'm a finance manager at Google, and in this channel we talk about business and technology. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, WorldCom stood as a symbol of American success. From a humble Mississippi startup to one of the largest telecommunications companies globally, WorldCom was on top of the world. Their brand was so powerful, even celebrities eagerly lent their names to endorse the company.
Yeah, and Michael put us on the internet.
You mean the Michael Jordan, right? No way.
Hey, how's that call forwarding working out?
Great, thanks.
WorldCom, one company, a world of solutions.
Amplifying its reach and influence around the world. What many perceived as a journey to unprecedented success was in reality a facade, hiding one of the largest corporate frauds in history. This company committed fraud on an unprecedented scale. $3.8 billion worth of operating expenses were improperly booked, sending a shockwave to the stock market that made shareholders lose $2 trillion and $500,000 telecom workers lose their jobs. But before I explain how they pulled this off, let's go back in time a bit. A bit of history. In the heart of Mississippi in 1983, a discount long-distance provider called LDDS was born. It wasn't until 1995 that they changed their name to WorldCom Inc. As the years went by, WorldCom offered innovative products to their customers, from long-distance calling to internet and voice services. Their ambition to grow, paired with the dawn of the internet, propelled them into rapid expansion, most of which became inorganic. They became a machine in mergers and acquisitions, with more than 30 companies to their name. They bought many businesses for billions of dollars, and in 1998 performed the biggest merger in history with MCI Communications for $40 billion.
We are excited by the remarkable opportunities this combination makes possible for both companies, shareholders, customers, and employees.
If it wasn't for the European Union and the US Justice Department, they would have merged with Sprint in a deal worth $120 billion, which would have made them so big they could have gone toe-to-toe with AT&T. And right from the start, Bernard Evers, a former basketball coach, led the charge as chief executive. He was a great salesman, but he barely had any training in finance or engineering. However, he managed to build one of the world's largest telecommunications companies, which at its peak was worth $160 billion, 90,000 employees, and 60,000 miles of telephone lines. The way he built it though, well, that's the most fascinating part of the story. WorldCom was effectively building a financial house of cards, one that was bound to collapse. How did they commit fraud? In the early 2000s, the telecommunications market started to slow down. This was driven by excess capacity coming from heavy investments in fiber optic networks. Because of this, WorldCom signed multi-billion contracts with third-party telecommunications companies to make sure that they could complete calls for customers. It turns out that 15% of the costs related to those contracts were not producing any revenue at all. This reality pushed Scott Sullivan, the CFO of the company, to make an important decision that is key to understanding the fraud that happened here. Specifically, WorldCom capitalized costs that should have been expensed. What this means is that expenses related to ongoing activities that should have been recorded immediately were treated as long-term investments, which allows the company to spread them out as much as 10 years into the future. By capitalizing these costs, WorldCom was able to inflate their assets and understate their current expenses, making their profitability appear much larger than it actually was. If WorldCom would have done this the right way, they would have reported a huge loss in 2001 coming from a $3.1 billion charge. Instead of doing that, WorldCom reported a profit of $1.4 billion for the same year. How did all of this come to light? Well, as with every accounting fraud scandal, there was a whistleblower, and her name was Cynthia Cooper. Cynthia started to sense that something was wrong when she found out that $500 million worth of computer expenses had no backup whatsoever to support it. She and her team started working during the night to avoid suspicion from upper management. They went through thousands of documents and even ended up crashing the computers in the process. All of this led to massive investigations by the Justice Department and the SEC, which resulted in the CFO and CEO getting fired from the company. WorldCom eventually filed for bankruptcy in July of 2002, which at the time was the largest bankruptcy in US history. Several of WorldCom's top executives faced criminal charges. Bernard Ebbers, the company CEO, was sentenced to 25 years in prison in 2005 for his role in the fraud. He was released early but died shortly. The CFO, Scott Sullivan, received a 5-year sentence after cooperating with prosecutors. This scandal, along with other corporate misconduct cases like Enron, led to significant changes in financial regulations. The Sarbanes-Oxley Act, known as SOX, was enacted in 2002, introducing stricter financial reporting standards and penalties for misconduct. Confidence in the stock market wavered as investors became wary of corporate governance across the board. The stock market went through a rough patch and many investors lost a ton of money. The scandal highlighted the significance of maintaining an ethical corporate culture. The top-down approach, where leadership exemplifies integrity, became the focus for many organizations. Cynthia Cooper's effort underscored the crucial role whistleblowers play in revealing this type of misconduct. The need for robust internal and external audit function was made painfully clear. An independent, assertive internal audit function can serve as an organization's last line of defense against fraud. The lessons from WorldCom continue to serve as a reminder of the importance of transparency, integrity, and oversight in the corporate world. And in spite of that, some people still take a shot at defrauding investors and crushing their employees. If you want an example, a recent example of what happened this year, take a look at this video about Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX. If you like that video, smash that like button, consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next video.